The Bell Witch. My terrifying encounter. I grew up in a small town in Tennessee, not far from where the infamous Bell Witch legend was born. As a kid, I had heard the stories, how the Bell family was tormented by a malevolent spirit in the early 1800s. The witch was said to be a vengeful entity, full of hatred and capable of unspeakable horrors. It was just a legend, or so I thought. That all changed one summer night when I was 17. My friends and I were the kind of kids who dared each other to do dumb things, especially when it came to local ghost stories. One night, as we were hanging out in the woods behind my house, the conversation inevitably turned to the Bell Witch. Everyone had a story, but none of us had experienced anything firsthand. That's when someone suggested we visit the site, the place where the Bell Witch haunted the Bell family. It sounded exciting at first, like the perfect adrenaline rush. I didn't believe in ghosts, but something about the Bell Witch legend had always given me a bad feeling. Still, the challenge was too tempting to pass up. We made our plans for the next night, setting out around dusk. We drove through the winding back roads, the sky growing darker by the minute as we approached the old Bell Witch cave. An eerie, moss-covered cave hidden deep in the woods near the original Bell farm. The air was heavy, humid, and full of tension. We all felt it, though no one said a word. When we arrived, we parked the car on the side of the road and trekked through the woods, flashlights in hand, the trees pressing in on us like dark sentinels. The further we walked, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The woods were unnervingly quiet. No crickets, no wind, just the sound of our footsteps crunching on the leaves and branches beneath us. It felt like the forest was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. We reached the mouth of the cave just as night fully descended. The entrance was small and overgrown with vines, barely visible unless you knew where to look. We stood in silence, staring at the black hole in the earth. The stories had said the witch dwelled in this cave, and the closer we got, the more we felt her presence. An overwhelming, almost suffocating pressure in the air. No one wanted to admit it, but we were scared, terrified. Still, we pressed on, daring each other to explore the cave. As we stepped inside, the temperature seemed to drop instantly. The light from our flashlights flickered weakly against the cave walls, casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own. The deeper we went, the narrower the passage became, the air growing colder and thicker. I swear, it felt like we were walking into the mouth of something ancient and evil. Then we heard it, the sound that would haunt me for the rest of my life. It started as a soft, distant whisper. At first, we thought it was one of us playing a trick, but as we all looked around, our faces illuminated by the faint glow of our flashlights, we realized no one was laughing. The whisper grew louder, more insistent, and it wasn't just one voice. It was many, layered, distorted, and angry. It was like they were coming from everywhere at once, bouncing off the cave walls, closing in on us. "Let's go," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the growing chorus of whispers. But before we could move, the flashlights flickered again, and then went out completely, plunging us into complete darkness. We were trapped in the pitch black, the whispers growing louder, almost deafening. It was as if the cave itself was alive, breathing with malevolent energy. My heart pounded in my chest, and I fumbled for my phone, desperately trying to turn on its flashlight. But then I felt it. Cold fingers. They wrapped around my wrist, icy and bony, tightening with unnatural strength. I screamed, jerking my arm away, but when I shone my phone's weak light on my wrist, there was nothing there. Nothing but the deep red marks left by invisible hands. Before I could warn the others, a deep, guttural growl echoed through the cave, cutting through the whispers like a knife. It was a sound no human throat could make, low, rumbling, and filled with hatred. We scrambled, pushing past each other in the darkness, desperate to get out of the cave. The growling followed us, the whispers morphing into high-pitched laughter, mocking us, taunting us. As we neared the entrance, the cave seemed to close in on us, the walls shifting, the ground beneath our feet unsteady. I stumbled, and when I looked up, I saw her, the Bell Witch. She stood at the mouth of the cave, her figure barely visible in the moonlight, a twisted silhouette of what once might have been a woman. Her face was pale, her eyes black and hollow, staring straight through me. Her mouth curled into a sinister smile, and as she opened it, I heard a voice. Her voice. The same voice I had heard in the whispers. "You shouldn't have come," she hissed, her voice crawling under my skin like ice. I ran. I don't remember how I made it out of the cave, but I ran faster than I ever have in my life. We all did. We didn't stop until we were back at the car, gasping for breath, our hearts hammering in our chests. No one spoke on the drive home, and I knew. I knew that we had seen something that night. Something real. For days after, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her empty, black eyes staring into my soul. And the worst part? The calls started soon after. Just like the old legend, my phone would ring at midnight, the screen flashing no caller ID. I'd answer, but there was no one there. Just the sound of breathing, soft and deliberate. It's been years since that night, but the Bell Witch still haunts me. I feel her presence in the darkest hours of the night, hear her whispers in the silence. And I know, deep down, that I'll never escape her. The Bell Witch doesn't just haunt the Bell family. She haunts anyone foolish enough to seek her out.